people want to know how to get good at jiu-jitsu fast.
Yeah, how to get good at jiu-jitsu fast. I think a good starting point would be setting realistic goals. Often, depending on the person's experience level, when they're focusing on this aspect, as a blue belt, you're probably making goals, but they're unrealistic. They're probably out of your reach. They're probably detrimental to your jiu-jitsu in a sense, right? So in my experience, usually if someone is in a type of environment where it's not very goal-oriented, people aren't learning to make more quality goals into their purple belt. But yeah, I think setting realistic goals is a huge aspect, so whether I'm talking to the kids program, white belts, blue, purple, brown, and black, I think it's really important to have incredibly in-depth, like non-surface goals. And then in the sense of, instead of thinking like, hey, I can't get past or swept, if that's obviously not attainable, which it shouldn't be, you're thinking about, okay, this is what I'm working on. I'm going to work on only guard retention. I'm not going to sweep. I'm not going to submit from my guard. It took Steve 45 seconds to pass my guard. Last week, it's taken him a minute this week, right? So we're making more smaller, attainable goals rather than just thinking about making a surface goal that embodies everything. It's just it'll be way too hard. Another thing to think about in terms of how to increase the speed of getting better at jiu-jitsu is going to be the consistency in your training, right? So in hobbyist environments, maybe people train 2, 3, 4 times a week, some people more, some people less. But if whatever you're trying to accomplish isn't running linear to how much time you spend in the gym, it's going to be really hard, right? So if you have someone that's, hey, I really want to focus on certain aspects of my game, I want to get better, or I'm getting for a competition, and they're consistently inconsistent, it's going to be really hard, right? So I think it's really important to sit down, make a very specific type of schedule, something you commit to, something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and you just show up, And depending on what the goals are that you're trying to accomplish, that should kind of set up. So, if one of the guys are like, hey, I want to get ready for a tournament, you're probably not training 3 times a week. You're probably going to train, 7 or 8 times a week, right? But if someone said like, hey, I want to work on my base retention, okay, well, you can do that 3 to 4 times a week, but you want to be consistent in that approach, right? So consistency is going to be key. If you're looking for something of a result that you want to be consistent, then the work you got to put in has got to be consistent as well. Another aspect in terms of how to get good at jiu-jitsu fast is going to be something around following like quality instruction. Now, what's tough is, as a lower belt, everybody's information is going to have value because you have none, right? The great thing about the internet is there's so much access to it. The bad thing about that is that there's also not a standard of that information, right? So I always suggest to people, whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you want to have fun, if you want to grow, efficiently, if you want to get your belts faster, if you want to be a world champion, if you want to win an 80cc invitational, whatever the goals may be, as small or big as they may be, I would always find someone who's already accomplished what I've done, and then I would basically try to use their communication and their game plan they used, their strategy. This is how I train, this is what I focused on, whatever it may be, and then I copy that, right? So whatever your goal is, whatever you're looking to do, it's important that you put in the quality of time, researching, investing to make sure that what you're looking at is going to be really efficient, because you can never get that time back. Not every instruction on BJJ Fanatics is going to be the best instruction in the world. There's no standard for whom they have on there, right? So although there's lots of information, that doesn't mean that all information is great. So the quality of what you get is going to be a huge, vital aspect of what you put into your jiu-jitsu. If the technique and the concepts aren't there, you're going to have a huge problem trying to implement that stuff. Yeah.
So then, what would you say the role of how important drilling is and the efficiency of your drilling?
I think drilling is really, really important for everybody on the mat, white to black. Being a lower belt, you probably have less clarity on how to drill and what to drill. As a higher belt, you pretty much already have a focal point. So if you look on the mat, you're seeing black belts are probably drilling something more small, a piece of a piece of a piece, whereas the lower belts are drilling more sequential things or more things that are in depth, right? So as a black belt, I would say, hey, you maybe should drill just a 1.5 second grip break readjustment and angle, to where blue belts, if you didn't give them any direction, they're, again, doing the whole sequence, right? So when we train, go live in practice, whatever it may be, compete, the habits that we have in there are created from what we do on the mat. So our mindset, the pace that we set, our clarity in what we're trying to accomplish is all going to be embodied into that, right? So drilling is incredibly detrimental to you if you're not doing it correctly because you're just basically practicing incorrectly. I'd hate to see a white belt just drilling closed guard arm bars on other white belts with no correlation other than just doing the technique, right? So drill something, have clarity, give obviously guidance from a higher rank that obviously has value in that sense as well. but focus on being able to increase that standard across the board. And if you do that, you'll see it bleed into, obviously, what you experience in training, how sharp you are, your reaction time will go through the roof as well.
Now, some of these questions kind of touch on it a little bit, but what about mindset? So everybody's not a competitor. What is the difference between a competitor and a not competitor? But in general, just overall mindset for getting good at jiu-jitsu fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody wants to be good at jiu-jitsu. The reason for why could be the difference. I think mindset's the number one thing. So whether you're having a good day or a bad day, training is easy or hard, you're getting beat up, you're not getting beat up, you're a white belt or black belt. Your mind is the sharpest tool that you're going to have being on the mat. It's where everything is going to mindset when you're off the mat or when you're on the mat isn't really connecting to your path that you're on, that you have clarity on. There's going to be a problem. And there's a lot of micro adjustments around there in that sense. But mindset is number one. I've known world-class elite competitors that have trained because they're full-time in school, they've got full-time jobs, but they're training to compete at Worlds, and their mindset is so sharp, it's so intentional that you can't shake them from showing up correctly, being prepared, training correctly, and then going in and competing at the best of their performance and applying that information. And I've seen people be on the mat 8 hours a day that have no focus, not enough focus. They go to a tournament, they're just there, right? So your mindset is really important. I think that when you spend money, you invest your time away from your family, away from whatever life you've got going on, is that if your mind's not sharp, then neither is your jiu-jitsu. So when you expect one to be without the other, you're probably going to be some kind of contradicting statement that's going to create a lot of problems, you know?
What would you say about cross-training? Would you suggest like doing CrossFit, working out, wrestling, judo? What do you think about that?
I think there's a couple of bases on this, right? So some people may think cross-training is just training jiu-jitsu at a different academy, training whatever you're doing at one spot at a different spot, right? So again, I think it all depends, you know, like if you got someone like Matt who's a father of two, he's a husband, he's a lawyer, you know, he's probably not trying to be a full-time jiu-jitsu fighter. He's not really worried about being at the gym, training 4, 5, 6 times a week, and then on top of that, lifting weights, whatever it may be, right? So I think that we're always working on making ourselves better overall. And I think you got to do whatever you have to do in order to accomplish that. And for each person, it's going to be different, you know, whether you're incorporating yoga, you're incorporating more stretching, you're incorporating, you know, doing some type of CrossFit work or more like mobility stuff. That's going to be up to, obviously, what your body is, your goals, and whatever it may be. But you should definitely be doing something more than just showing up. In my experience as a competitor, also as a coach for competitors or a coach for people that are hobbyists, there's always more that we can do outside or off the mat that will help us be better human beings off the mat and on the mat as well. So there has to be multiple things that go on there, you know. So again, I think the guidance from a higher respectable point of view is always important. It'll give you the proper path, and with that path then you should have more success with what you're doing.
If you were to ask yourself this question, give me a quick one sentence, one quick paragraph on what you would tell yourself to get good at jiu-jitsu faster.
Find the best, have them give you their liquid gold of information, keep your head down and do it. That's all I would.
LogicBJJOnline.com is an innovative learning platform beyond just videos and courses. I personally speak with members one-on-one to determine issues and problem solve by structuring out efficient training sessions. The ability to connect informative content from the website and communication with guidance allows members to truly make and see a difference. Most membership websites just offer a study guide. Logic BJJ Online is a tutor.